Hi everyone. All right, today is Wednesday the 28th. Today our Red Ribbon Week was our favorite team shirt. Tomorrow is going to be to wear neon. This morning we read Bears in the Night and we completed our morning movement. Our math lesson was on decimals. Yesterday we were talking about expanded form. Today we talked about expanded notation. And so let's review what that is. So expanded form is if I had the whole number 528, expanded form is taking each of these digits. So the value is 500 plus the 2 has a value of 20 and the 8 has a value of 8. And I know this because the 5 is in the hundreds place, the 2 is in the tens place, and the 8 is in the ones place. Expanded notation is taking that same number, but this time we're using parentheses, and we're taking the digit 5, and we're multiplying it by the place that it's in. And so you can see how this is connected because 5 times 100 is 500. Plus, take the digit, the next one's 2, times the place that it's in. This is the tens place. And that gives us that 20. So expanded notation is giving, it's what we do to get these values. The next digit is 8 times the place is 1. 8 times 1 is 8. So these are connected. So we've already done this before with whole numbers. Now we're introducing the idea that we can do the same thing with our decimals. So let's say we had 23 and 1600ths. We're going to start with the left, or on the left. So our first digit's 2. So we're going to open our parentheses and write that digit 2. Then we're going to multiply it by the place that it's in. The 2 is in the tens, so I'm going to write a 10. Close the parentheses. These need to be grouped together. Plus, and again, be on the lookout. Make sure if you're doing questions or anything like that, make sure that what's inside is the multiplication symbol. You're multiplying 2 times 10. If it was the plus sign and you're adding 2 plus 10 is 12, 12 is not the value of the 2. So we want that multiplication so that we can get that value of the 2. And then the plus goes here because we're going to take those values, and if we add them all back up, they'll give us this 23 and 1600ths. So the next digit's 3. So I'm going to open the parentheses. I'm going to write my 3 times the 3 is in the ones place. Close the parentheses. Plus, go to my next digit, 1. Open up the parentheses. I write down that digit. And then same thing, I'm in my decimals now, so I'm going to write the place. The place is the tenths. So that 1, notice here the 1 is in the tens place. Here, the 1 is in the ones place. Here, the 1 is in the tenths place. Plus, next digit is a 6. Open my parentheses, write the 6, times, this is the hundredths place, so I have to put my decimal, a 0, and a 1 to show that that 1 is in the hundredths place. All right, let's try another. Let's do 56 and 7800ths. Again, we're going to open up our parentheses. We're going to take this first digit, 5. The 5 is in the tens place. 5 times 10 gives me that value of 50, plus the next digit, 6, times the 6 is in the ones place, plus next digit is 7, The 7 is in the tenths, plus 8. The 8 is in the hundredths place. Okay. So you have to know your place value. If you look in your agenda on page 139 in the agenda, you can see there's a place value chart, and that place value chart shows you what each of these numbers, what place each of them is in. So you can use that to help you. But again, as you're reading, just like we did with the expanded form, as you're checking it, you're looking at what you wrote, and then you're making the connection between this. So if I wrote 5 times 10, I'm going to glance back up here and I'm going to make sure that 5 is in the tens place. And 5 times 10, I'm checking, that equals 50. Then I'm going to look at my next one, 6 times 1. The 6 is in the ones place. 6 times 1 is 6. That's my value of my 6. Then I'm going to look at 7 times that 1/10. That gives me 7/10. 7 is in the tenths place. That checks out. Then I'm going down the line. 8 times 100 gives me 800ths. Same thing there. The 8 is in the hundredths place. So I'm making sure that each of these match. The big thing is these place values, making sure those match with these digits. Okay, so everything has to match. So once you understand the place value, what each of these place value columns is called, and what their values are, then it's just simply matching to make sure everything's in the right spot where it belongs. Just take little piece by little piece. All right, so we did that. And then we had from Google Classroom, if you go down, you have Wednesday independent work. This is what students turned in today. And then for reading today, we continue talking about argumentative texts. We worked in Seesaw on pages, we started off on 7. All right, so argumentative texts, we're actually on page 6. All right, so we started reading this one. It's called The School Uniform Debate. And so we talked about, we reviewed the structure. So again, we're looking for the claim, what people are claiming, what they're saying is their opinion about whatever the topic is. This one's going to be about school uniforms. And then we're looking for those supporting reasons. So those reasons that are following, they're going to be the reasons why they feel the way that they do, why their opinion is what it is. Okay, so here, this paper is sharing you've got opposing views. So one view is that yes, school uniforms that's a positive thing, and that that kids should have, like these kids are wearing right here, kids should be wearing the same thing. They give all their reasons why. And then the opposing view is no, kids should be able to choose what they get to wear, and then they have their own set of reasons that support their opinion. So as we're reading, that's what we're looking for. So it says the debate over school uniforms has been argued for over 2 decades. Before that time, school uniforms were only found in private schools. That began to change in 1994. After 1 year of requiring school uniforms, a public school district in Long Beach, California, said that discipline problems had gone down by 50%. Soon, More school districts made the change for their students. Today, the National Center for Education Statistics reports that over 20% of all public schools have a uniform policy. All right, so this is the section that is the group that is for. So they're saying yes to school uniforms. So as we go through, we're going to be looking for those reasons why they're saying yes. So it says most schools that have a uniform policy have started it for safety and well-being of students. Students often feel peer pressure to wear name brands to fit in. School uniforms that do not show name brands help get rid of that pressure. Schools say that wearing uniforms lets students to focus on their schoolwork rather than how they look. In some areas where gangs use certain colors to represent their groups, uniforms have reduced violence in schools. Uniforms have also reduced the amount of theft and violence among students for designer clothing items. In a speech in March of 1996, President Bill Clinton said, "If it means that school rooms will be more orderly and more disciplined, and that our young people will learn to evaluate themselves by what they are on the inside instead of what they're wearing on the outside, then our public schools should be able to require that their students wear uniforms." A 2010 study conducted by East Carolina University surveyed school administrators, and 61% said that they believe that school uniforms lower the amount of discipline needed in schools. The administrators also said they noticed more school pride when students all wore the same color. In addition to helping with school discipline, uniforms have also been helpful to parents and students. So uniforms save my family a lot of time and money, says Priscilla Gobert, mother of four. Each year, I just buy the required uniforms for my kids. I don't have to worry about the name brand, and it also saves us a lot of time in the morning since there's no question about what to wear each day. Her ninth grade daughter, Alyssa, agrees. She says, "In the morning, I just throw on my uniform. I put my soccer stuff in a bag for practice later and go. It makes it easy to get out the door." All right, so we stopped there, and I was highlighting as I went, but we talked about those reasons. We looked at this chart here. So here, this is cities where they're showing the highest number or the highest use of uniforms in public schools. And it's saying more public schools require uniforms than public suburban schools. And so you can see some of these cities like New Orleans, Cleveland, Chicago, Boston, Miami, Cincinnati, um, all the way from 90, this is 50 to 90% of their schools um, are requiring or that have a uniform policy. So lots of reasons why people say yes, that's a positive thing. So students took that. We didn't read the no yet. We're going to do that tomorrow. Students took all of these reasons and they picked the top three, and they needed to be different. So, top three arguments or reasons um, why schools should have uniforms. So they put the reasons here. So one reason that kids should wear uniforms is because, and then they gave one reason, and then another, and then another. And like I said, tomorrow we're going to do the section on no, people that are against it. So they did that. And then they worked on their haunted house story. They've been writing a story about they're selling a haunted house. And so we've been working on the body. So this body, they're writing another reason why the client should buy the house. And they want to include those supporting details. So just like they saw, let me pull it back up. Just like you saw in the article. So they would say something and then they didn't just stop and go right into the next reason. They gave more supporting details. So here it's talking about reducing the amount of theft and violence. Then it gives a quote talking about how if things are more orderly and disciplined, then that's a positive thing, that's a reason why we should have school uniforms. So they're not just saying that reason and then going straight to the next one. They're giving details that support what they said. So we want the same thing in our writing that we're doing here. So students drafted that when they were done. Then we went to Google Classroom. So for writing today, we continued with practicing possessive apostrophe rules. And so in Google Classroom, under Tuesday through Friday writing, we opened up our assignment. And all right, we went down to page 16. And here we're looking at whether something is talking about plural or something's talking about a possessive. It's either a plural noun or a possessive noun. So plural, to review, means more than one, and possessive is talking about showing that ownership. So with plural, you as the reader, when you're reading someone's writing, you want to, you obviously need to know what they're talking about. And so understanding this apostrophe, and when you see that, understanding how that works can help you with your understanding of the text. So it says, Ava's painting looked beautiful. You have apostrophe S, so this is showing a possessive. Ava's painting, the painting belongs to Ava. So that is a possessive noun. Here, I read 5 books last summer. You're talking about 5 books, so more than one, that's plural. Her bucket's handle was broken. Here, the handle belongs to the bucket, so apostrophe S shows that that's a possessive noun. 19, a flock, so a lot of birds landed on the wire. You're talking about more than one bird, so that's plural. You don't need the apostrophe. If you look at the word that follows, landed, that does not belong to the word bird, so that doesn't make any sense. So it's without. My mom bought 4 tickets to the play. 4, it's talking about more than one ticket, so that's a plural. Here, again, the word that follows doesn't belong to that word ticket, so that doesn't make sense. The bird's nest was made from twigs and leaves. Nest belongs to the bird. So it's the bird's nest. That's possessive. So we stop there. We'll continue more tomorrow with that. And then we went to Seesaw and we did the next section of our opinion writing. So we went down to opinion writing. So we've been talking about, we broke down the prompt page, we brainstormed some different topics, and then we made our central idea, and then we took that and we started talking about how we hook our reader. And the first thing we talked about was one way that we could do that is by asking a question. So let me edit this. All right, so then we picked our question that we wanted to use, and we pieced everything together. And so we said, we have to remember that in our introduction, we want a hook and we want a central idea. Today we talked about same thing. We want to hook our reader. We don't want to state our opinion right off from the beginning because our reader might not be interested or feel like it doesn't have anything to do with them. We don't want them to check out just from reading our first sentence. So another way that we can hook our reader is to do a funnel. So a funnel, here's what one looks like. It has a very broad top at the top here. Okay, it's very wide. And then as you go down, it gets narrower all the way down. Okay, so we copied our topic brainstorm from page 1. So if you go here, this whole box, we copied this and we put it here on page 7. And so what did I have? I had dog, cat, snake, hamster. Let me just, oh, I did each one of those. All right, dog, cat, snake, hamster. All right. I gone with dog. All right, so with the funnel, why I have you pick 4 is because I was leading you into this. So with the funnel, you start broad, just like the funnel, and then you get narrower. So these other 3 choices that you did not pick, so on mine I had snake, hamster, and then the cat. I'm going to take those and, oops. I'm going to take those and I'm going to add them down below. So the first one's cat. Second one is snakes. And the third one is hamster. All right, and then I'm going to save, so I'm talking very broad. There's all of these different kinds of pets, such as cats, snakes, and hamsters. However, I think a dog, or I think dogs, would be the best pet. Let me tell you why. So this right here, again, it's called a funnel. You're starting broad, so you're starting with this big idea, and you're telling your reader there are many different types of pets, such as cats, snakes, and hamsters. However, I think dogs would be the best pet. Let me tell you why. So you're giving them this list of all these different animals, and then you're saying, however, okay, so there's all these animals, however, this is the one that I think is the best. Whenever you say that, however, you're kind of like switching gears here, and you're leading them, let me tell you why, you're leading them into why you're going to, why dogs are the best. So that's leading them into your reasons. We added a page and we put it right after, no, right after here. Okay, and then we did our own with the one that we had from our benchmark. So we practiced writing another funnel. So you would say something like, there are many people that I would love to meet, such as blank, comma, blank, comma, and blank. However, comma, blank is the person that I would like to meet the most. Let me tell you why. Okay, so there are many people that I would love to meet, such as this person, and this person. However, comma, this person is the person that I would like to meet the most. Let me tell you why. So again, you're starting very big. You're giving them this list of people that you would like to meet. However, you're saying that out of all of the people, this is the one person that you would like to meet the most. Okay? So even though you may want to meet these people, this person that you say last, this is the one that you want to meet out of everybody. They're like your top pick. Okay? So we added that there just to practice that funnel. And then again, we ran out of time, but there are some prompts down here if you want to respond to one of those. We keep running out of time. All right, so we drafted, because we share a lot in class, so students are sharing them when we're talking about them, so running out, but that's all right. All right, so we did that. All right, then let's go down. We went to lunch and recess. When we came back, we started working with science, continuing weathering, erosion, and deposition. All right, so each day we've been working on a section here. All right, so today we read this information just to review weathering and erosion. So it says weathering and erosion work together to change the environment. In nature, large things get broken down into smaller things. It can take a really long time, but sometimes it happens fast. Keep reading to find out more about weathering and erosion. So weathering is a natural process that breaks apart or changes rock. Again, that when you hear the word break, I want you to associate that with weathering. So if you are talking about anything that is breaking, you need to associate that with weathering. It says some of the natural forces that cause weathering are heat, water, wind, and living things. There are three main types of weathering. You can have physical, biological, or chemical. And weathering, unlike erosion, breaks things up into smaller pieces but doesn't move them away. So it's purely just that break. Okay? So breaking into smaller pieces. The moving away, that's erosion's job. So erosion is what moves the soil and tiny rocks that weathering leaves behind. Okay? So here, when you see erosion, you're thinking that movement. Remember, weathering breaks it, erosion takes it. So any kind of any kind of movement, that goes with erosion. So the wind and water carry the sediment, small pieces of rock or sand, to a new location. Erosion can happen because gravity pulls the soil downhill. It can also happen because of strong weather, like rain or wind. Erosion is a very slow process and it happens over many, many years. All right, so we talked about that. And then students went to page 7 and they drew an example of weathering, erosion, and deposition. And so they have this space here to add information. And then they drafted once they're done. And when they did that, make sure you're labeling, the vocab words are right there on the page. Make sure you're labeling which parts are weathering, which parts erosion, what parts deposition. And then in Google Classroom, these two science activities we finished. And so this one right here are some questions. And we had started this last week and we continue today. So we had left off on page 6. And so 6 says a massive river of ice, rocks, and soil that moves slowly down a mountain is called. 7, a rock can be broken down by. 8, you've learned about several processes that cause weathering. So think about wind, water, ice, living things. You're going to select one of those processes and explain it. And you're explaining how it weathers Earth's surface. So how does that, how does the wind change Earth's surface? How does water change Earth's surface? So pick one and describe that process. Here you have different layers. So here's at the top here, you have topsoil, and then these here are underground. And it says, think about what causes, so wind, water, ice, gravity, living things. Which one is going to be affected the most by weathering? And then number 10, we talked about this yesterday with river. We were talking about river rocks, and we were talking about river rocks, how they have this really pretty, smooth, rounded shape to them. And it's because over time, we saw with our lab how things are bumping into each other, the water's moving quickly, and so over time they get really smoothed out. And so you're choosing which one of these rocks has probably been in the river the longest. And then we turn that in. And then the other one is a quizzes to practice some questions. And again, when you're seeing those questions, if your answer choices are weathering, erosion, or deposition, those are your 3 answer choices. Then if it's talking about something about a break, you know your answer is going to be weathering. If it's talking about some kind of movement, again, you're associating that with erosion, and deposition is when you have that new sediment that was just moving. It's going to be deposited or dropped off somewhere. And so when it finally stops, sometimes that can build up and create a new land formation. It can, that part right there where it's being deposited, that's process right there is deposition. All right. And we did that. All right. In social studies, we paused after we did science. In Seesaw, there's an activity. It's the SLO progress check. And these are 5 questions. Students need to do them on their own. I am not expecting perfect scores because we haven't even taught this yet. These are 5 questions that we'll track over the course of the year. And the standard, so this standard is one that all 4th grade classes in Texas learn about. It's a math, and it's multi-step, and it could involve addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, combination of any of those. And so this is one of our standards that students struggle with the most. And so we're kind of tracking their progress on how they progress throughout the year. And so we're going to have them start off. Yes, even though they have not done it, that's okay. Again, we're not expecting perfection here. We're just trying to see where students are at the beginning. And then as we teach it and stuff like that, so we'll do it again in the middle, and then we'll see how they do at the end of the year. So there's room on the bottom where they will show their work. They need to show their work. They can get partial credit for being on the right track, and then make sure their answers are circled so I can easily see those. And there's just 5 of them there, so that needs to be done very quickly. And then, don't rush, but I need it very soon. And then after that, social studies, they worked on their current day. And then because of that SLO, we didn't have time to do our daily review today. We had kind of pushed everything back down, and students had music today, and that was that. So make sure you've got your neon ready to go for tomorrow, and then make sure you read the note here on Friday, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, thanks, guys.